launching a tasty pastry. It's a low-carb Pop-Tart. It's got 3 to 4 grams of net carbs, and we love this show. This is our best place to be in LA.
Welcome back to Legendary Foods Muscle in the Morning. I'm Dave Palumbo, and today is Thursday, July 8th, 2021. And let's find out what's going on in the world of bodybuilding and fitness. Over the last few weeks, we've talked about the Chicago Pro a lot on this show. And for the most part, whenever you talk to anyone about the 212 division there, the conversation immediately shifts to Keon Pearson, because everyone's already penciling him in as the winner. And who knows, that might end up being the case. But I'll tell you what, I would not sleep on Ahmed Elsadany as a legitimate threat there. He announced last week that he was planning to make his season debut in Chicago. And anyone who keeps up with this division knows that this guy might be one of the most underrated athletes out there. When he's at his best, he can be a top 5 Olympian for sure. He's that good. So if Keon doesn't show up at his absolute best, I wouldn't put it past Elsadany to slide in there and steal the win. Since we're already on the subject of underrated athletes, I figured why not take a second to shine some light on William Martins. When he made his pro debut a few weeks ago at the Puerto Rico Pro, there were a lot of people who thought that he was overlooked, including our own Chris Aceto, who thought that William could have easily placed 3 or 4 spots higher. Well, according to reports, William is already looking to get back on stage and exact some vengeance at the Portugal Pro, which is set to go down a little less than 2 weeks from now. Even though the official lineups haven't been released yet, based on what we know right now, if Williams shows up looking even better than he did in Puerto Rico, this could be his show to lose. And if it does end up playing out that way, I think the sting of feeling like he was overlooked will end up washing away very quickly. For the most part, we don't have a ranking system in bodybuilding like they do in other sports. Right now, our ranking system pretty much consists of where someone placed in the previous Olympia. But for all intents and purposes, it doesn't mean a whole lot because someone's ranking doesn't have anything to do with what happens on stage. The reason I'm saying this is because there's a weird ranking thing that caught my attention in Classic Physique coming up at the Arnold. On paper, Terrence Ruffin should be the highest ranked athlete because he placed second at the Olympia last year, which should make him the favorite. But then again, Alex Cabernero is the defending champion, and it's hard to say that we should arbitrarily put anyone ahead of him as the favorite, especially since he beat Terrence at this show last year for the title. So it's another one of those weird things that only happens in bodybuilding, and the only way to sort it out is to see what happens on stage. But depending on what happens there, maybe there will be some sort of flip-flop in the rankings that has an impact on the way the judges see things at the Olympia a few weeks later, which may or may not make things more confusing. I guess we'll all just have to wait and see. And finally, if you've been a fan of our show for an extended period of time, then you already know how much we love to support the troops and police officers who help to protect our freedom and keep us safe every single day. So I wanted to take this time to send a special shout out to one of the boys in blue, who also happens to be a fan of the show, and an NPC competitor named Ryan Coblentz. Ryan is a 3-time champion in the NPC who's currently in the process of trying to add some size so he can come back to compete against next year at the national level, with the hope of potentially being able to win his pro card. Sometimes we get so wrapped up in the day-to-day bodybuilding stuff that we forget about how many athletes out there are doing incredible things away from the gym and the stage that deserve some recognition, and Ryan is one of them. So if you want to check and follow along with his journey, you can follow him on Instagram at RJC_330. And that does it for yet another edition of Muscle in the Morning. I'm Dave Palumbo, reminding you to always be true to your passions. And make sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.